Hi, it's Ray with Get Real Ray, a place and space for life and business tips from this creative soul to hopefully inspire you on your journey, or at the very least provide you with some laughs. And now let's get real. This is number 2 in my 2-part series on how to get more applicants for your trusted house sitters listing. So this is definitely all about trusted house sitters. Okay, homeowner, this is for you. So in my last video, we talked a lot about your actual profile, and I do encourage you to go back and look at that video if you haven't watched it already. With that being said, another way to improve the applications you get and increase the chance of you getting some strong applicants, and if you're getting 0 applicants, then yeah, you need to look at this. Do these things. I want for you to think about how many pets you have and are expecting someone else to watch. Now, I really stay true to my word in terms of if I say I'm going to do a sit, I'm going to do the sit. And I will state that only once did I have to back out. I'm now trying to think, was it more than once? But I think it's actually only once. And I've been doing this house sitting thing for about a year now. Why did I have to back out? Another pet was added. And to be fair, that homeowner did say, I can take this pet, I can put it in a kennel, have someone else watch it, all these other things. We had booked months and months in advance, but the new pet was a special needs pet, and the other pets already had some issues. And the more I thought about it, at first I was like, oh no, it's not a big animal, it should be a problem. And then it was kind of like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to take the other animals for a walk, but one of them needs a backpack, and then I'm supposed to leave that one home? Well, this is just getting too much. For me, it was too much. Now, if it was more than one sitter, I'm sure that would have been fine having 4 pets. I myself didn't really want to have one pet in a backpack and another pet on a leash. And I should not, or rather, I should have caught that in the welcome guide before we had reached this point of the new pet being added, because I missed that in the welcome guide, which is this note of, oh yeah, you can go ahead and put so-and-so in the backpack because he's not really going to walk, and then just have the other person on the leash. I'm thinking, I'm like burdened with pets in an area where it gets really, really hot. This is not sounding ideal. And then when the other pet was added, I just didn't like the idea of, okay, now I've got this other pet. It's like 4 pets, and am I going to be able to get any work done? It just didn't work for me. And I also had the concern of, are you going to add something else? Because things keep seeming to change. So while that was a unique situation and I did decline, I think that house sit would have been ideal for either a house sitter who like literally does not care, right? Like, yeah, put that pet in a kennel and I'll wear the backpack, or nah, I'm not going to take those pets for a walk anyway, so what you say doesn't matter. Or for more than one sitter, a couple. Because then it's like 2 pets per human, no problem. Or a sitter who also wasn't working online and would have to be worried about the barking and the meowing. I also was going to be gone for an evening or something. So now that was more pets that I would have to think about. Oh my gosh, well, this one's bladder can only last this one. And how soon do I have to get back? It wasn't a good situation. So I probably should have never accepted. But anyway, I did have to decline. I did give this person plenty of notice to find someone else. Okay. They were living in a very popular city. Oh, I just realized I had to withdraw from another sit because of international travel issues, and also giving more than a month's notice. So I'm sure those people were able to find somebody. Okay, so this is not about my withdrawal history, but you really do want to find a sitter who's not going to withdraw or have a reason to withdraw. So don't give them a reason to withdraw by adding more pets than they agreed to sit. I do actually have a sit coming up where the homeowner has said, oh, one of our cats ran away, so we're thinking of getting a kitten. And I said, hey, I'm so sorry your cat ran away. However, please know, if you get a kitten before I arrive for the house sit, I will not be able to care for your pets and do the house sit. Just letting you know. Now you might be like, why? I mean, one cat's out, another cat in, no problem, right? She said kitten. Okay? So, kittens, they require a lot of play. They meow a lot. They like to nibble and scratch. I work online. I do not have the time to make sure your kitten isn't destroying your furniture. I do not want your kitten meowing while I am online with a client, because that has happened and it's cost me money. When someone's recording is no longer usable because they have the sound of a kitten in their recording. Not good. Remember, house sitters are not getting paid. And so if we are a house sitter that's still working, we need to be able to keep doing our work so that you don't wind up with someone who's going to be like, I'm a squatter now because I lost my job, so I guess I'm going to live in your house. Like, no, you don't want that, right? So with that being said, don't be unrealistic. If you have more than 3 pets, think about, is this a sit that's better for a couple? I've seen people list farms, okay? And, oh, you can get all that farm work done in 30 minutes. But you have to go and feed the horses and the pigs and the dogs and the chickens. And not everyone has experience on a farm, okay? So state in your listing whether or not it is ideal for more than one person. Farms are great for families and for couples because there's more than one person to tackle all of those responsibilities. With that being said, know that if you are listing a farm, you may have fewer interested applicants. So you kind of have to be your own advertising person and really think to yourself, why would this be a really great opportunity for a house sitter? You know, okay, it's a farm. Put some fancy wording in your listing, letting people know, like, great house sitting opportunity on a quiet farm with the world's cutest piglets or something. I don't know, right? And let people know, like, great for families and couples who want an opportunity to explore and experience nature. Okay, so maybe there's a potential sitter out there who has not even thought of or considered being on a farm, but now they've seen your amazing listing. They're like, oh, well, actually, I wasn't thinking about this, but this could be a fun educational opportunity for my kids, because you put in your listing, fun educational opportunity for kids, you know, let them help you feed the pigs and the cows and the horses or whatever. If your horses are suitable for riding, and you could put in your listing, experienced riders are welcome to use our equipment to ride our horses. And then make sure you have that conversation with the house sitter beforehand, like, oh, you know, do you ride? Are you interested in riding? Do you have experience? And all that stuff, right? Because you also want to make sure you protect yourself insurance-wise and not have somebody who comes in, they're like, yeah, I have experience. They have 0 experience, and they try to get on the horse, break something, and they're like, oh my gosh, I broke my arm at your house sit. Like, just don't worry. We're going to talk about that call in advance. Okay. So think about how many pets you have and set up your listing. Use that description area to realistically make your listing attractive if you have a lot of pets and it's going to be too much for like more than one person. A lot of the low applications that I see are really just because it's like, oh, okay, you have 5 cats or 6 cats. I have seen on forums where house sitters are literally talking about how, well, when I arrive to a house sit, I do a 3-hour deep clean, and then I have a sheet that I bring with me that I put down on the furniture before I sit down. And if the pet wants to get on the couch, I move my sheet so that they cannot get on the couch, on my sheet, on the couch next to me. I keep the pets out of my room, and I'm just like, why are you dealing with pets? If these are pets that are used to being able to sit on the couch, to sleep on the bed, and it is such a problem for you to be near this animal hair, why? Why did you take that house sit? Because you would have had that conversation in advance with the homeowner. You would have seen pictures of that property. The homeowners will tell you straight up whether or not their pets are allowed on furniture, allowed on the bed, if they like to snuggle at night. So I myself love snuggly pets, okay? I do understand allergies and not wanting to be covered in pet hair all the time. But for me, that's just too much work. As a house sitter, if I have to cover up someone else's furniture and deep clean it and then keep deep cleaning it so that I can have, a place to stay for free? Like, what is it? Because you're not even sounding like you want to be with the pet. You like pets. So homeowners, if you do have multiple pets, really just, I know it can be a situation where you're like, oh, yay, someone applied and I just need someone, so I'll say yes. But don't set it up so where you are annoyed because you picked someone because you were desperate or your pet is miserable. That pet might have just been happier at that Rover overnight sit or at a kennel, rather than be in their own home, forbidden to do the things they normally do, like get on the couch. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one thing. I'm going to look at my list because I want to make sure that I give you another amazing tip, a lazy bio. Yeah. So the other thing to look out for in terms of why are you not getting a lot of applications is your bio is lazy. So we already talked about how those photos are super important. The bio, we also mentioned unreasonable demands, but a lazy bio is definitely a problem. I have seen some bios where it's, when I say bio, just mean like the profile, the written section, right? I don't need to know your whole life history. Right? So sometimes I'll say like, I'm a retired, my children are grown and they live in these towns. And I mean, you can tell me all this if you want to, just in case I'm like, oh, I've lived in that town too. But sometimes I'm like, I don't need to know all that. just let me know I'm going to be taken care of in your home. But with that being said, a lazy bio, not okay. I have had situations where people be like, oh, there's not much to do. Just feed muffins and, make sure they feel loved. Okay. And I see plants in your photos. Do those plants need watering? Feed muffins. Well, what kind of food does muffins get? Does muffins get dry food? So instead of just feed muffins and give muffins lots of love, feed muffins dry food 2 times a day. Flexible on the times that you feed. Muffins gets half a cup. Now I know. Okay, so I don't have to worry about, chopping up anything, defrosting anything, because muffins gets half a cup of dry food. And it's okay if I am not an early riser or if I'm out late, because muffins doesn't have a set time of day where muffins needs to eat, and muffins might like kill me if I don't feed him at those times, right? So adding a little bit more detail definitely is more reassuring for the house sitter, and it's really helpful for newer house sitters. Newer house sitters haven't learned to ask all the questions yet, and so they are really eager to just get a house sit, to just try it, to just jump in there, and they're going to say yes to house sits that once they get on the sit, they're like, oh wait, what did I get myself into? What should I have asked? So make it easy for the house sitter. Just give us relevant information. Don't be lazy. If you know that the house sitter will only have access to certain rooms in the house, then put that in the listing too, right? I've seen things where I'm like, oh my gosh, this place looks great. 3 stories, 6 bedrooms. Oh me, oh my. And then it's like, the house sitter will only have access to the basement. And I'm like, wait, what? For me personally, I don't really want to go stay in a 3-story, beautiful looking property, seeing all these photos, and then being told, no, you actually can't go in any of those spaces or those rooms. Let's go to the basement. And, a lot of times those basements are really nicely done. If there is a basement that has been refurbished, and sometimes people will be like, house sitter will have access to the basement, but it's been completely refurbished, and there's the family room is down there with a big screen TV and all these other things. It's like, oh, okay. Now I don't feel like I'm being punished by being in the basement. But, if it is a big home, let us know if we can actually see the home. We don't need access to every room, but it is important to know what we can and can't do. I did one house sit where they actually didn't tell me what was off limits, and I really struggled. It was only 1 story, but I was like, where's my room? I don't really know where my room is. And so I was going around like trying these doors to figure out where my room is. And it's like, oh, I think that has a digital code on it. Am I going to set off an alarm? What is happening right now? So even just having in the welcome guide, like, hey, just so you know, the upper floors are off limits. I have had homeowners tell me, oh, well, the kids' rooms are off limits. Of course. Not a problem. I don't want to go in your kid's room. Not happening. But if you are setting up your house for a family, then figure out, will that house sitter and their family be allowed to use more than that basement or that 1 bedroom? Also, think about any kind of medications or special needs, the plants. Put in the bio, put in that description. I keep saying bio, but put in that description whether or not the house sitter will need to water plants. Like, oh, some house plants that need watering twice a week. I did one house sit where I was told that the yard was on a sprinkler system. It was, but the sprinkler system was a little touch and go. And there were many other plants that were not on the sprinkler system that I had to actually manually water. There's a hose to do that, but it was not as easy breezy as, oh, just click a button and forget it. It was not like that at all. And it was a problem. It was a problem for me. Because I felt like, this is a lot. I didn't agree to all this. You said sprinkler system. This is not okay. But with that being said, there were some other problems with the house sit. Okay, so don't have lazy profiles. Take the time. If you want a good sitter, and if you're not getting applications and you want more applications, then take the time to fill out a profile that is appealing to potential sitters. If you feel like, oh, it's great, but you're not sure, or you haven't received a lot of applications, or you haven't received good applications, do you have a friend who's used trusted house sitters? And you can say, hey, can you take a look at my profile? Or if you don't have a friend like that, just ask somebody that you know, be like, can you just take a look at this? And what's your first impression? What do you think? Am I coming across as demanding or obsessive, or is it clear what my expectations are? This will save you so much trouble and drama and headaches. So don't be lazy. Okay, so by doing all of these things, hopefully you have more applications. Remember, you really want to keep in mind where you live. We already talked about location, but if you are looking at sitters who are traveling from abroad, or just outside of your city, is there a place they can sleep at the night before you leave? This is something to really think about. I had one sitter. She was so, I'm sorry, not a sitter. I had one homeowner. She was so nice because she knew I was flying in from California over to Connecticut. And she showed me around. I thought she said I could stay here tonight. It's a 1-bedroom. I don't really know. Do I have to go find an Airbnb or a hotel? And, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm tired. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. She's like, okay, so the bedroom is yours. And I'm going to be out in the living room. I'm going to leave really early, so I might see you or I might not. Thanks so much. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's so sweet. She is actually going to sleep in her living room and give me the bedroom so that I can be comfortable and be here for her dog. And we don't have to worry about, did I miss my flight or anything like that? Yeah. So communicating whether or not you have a space that will allow for a sitter to come a day early or even stay a day late is really something that goes a long way, especially if you're in a location that's like not right near a major airport, or you're looking at sitters who don't live in your area, right? A lot of times you're going to have people who don't live in your area applying because they want to explore your town, right? Now, I do remember after having this issue with traveling internationally, this homeowner being very upset, like, why would someone in my area want to do this house sit? And I said, well, honestly, there are people who live close to you, right? Maybe not the exact same city, but a nearby city, who are very curious about your city. And this, in terms of what it applies for you, maybe you live in a very nice area or a picturesque area or quiet area. And there are people who just go, oh man, I want to get away for a hot second. I'd love to just have a little vacation, or I've always been curious about that town. Maybe there's a concert happening in your area that they really want to go to. And it's kind of like, oh, I don't really have to drive back to my house after the concert. So they're curious about sits that are closer. Maybe there's a couple who just need to get away from the kids for a weekend, and they can't really afford to travel far, but they know they can take the kids to the grandparents' house for the weekend. The kids would love it. The grandparents would love it. And they can actually make it a special trip for themselves by going over to another town that's maybe 2 hours away from where they live, have a wonderful meal, stay in a beautiful home, and just relax. I mean, doesn't that sound good? That sounds good. I don't even have kids. I'm like, that sounds great. So there are many reasons why someone would choose your home, and knowing whether or not there's some flexibility in terms of where they can stay, when they can stay, goes a long, long way. So on one hand, don't count yourself out by being like, no one in my area want to stay in this place. And on the other hand, don't set yourself up for lack of success in terms of getting strong applicants by not putting in your description, hey, we have a guest bedroom that you can stay in if you are traveling from out of town and you need a place to stay a day early, or if you your next house sit or next adventure doesn't start for a day later, or if your flight gets in really late. Just let us know. This is really, really something that is hugely attractive, especially to more seasoned sitters, because sitters who do this full time and who've done a lot of house sits, always trying to connect sits back to back. We don't really want to spend a lot of downtime in between sits. We really like to keep things moving, and it speaks a lot when we can see a profile that clearly looks like the homeowner has kept the sitter in mind and is just thoughtful. So we have learned that, I have to look at my notes because I want to make sure that I say this correctly. We've learned that too many pets can be an issue. And so using that profile description area to be honest about what kind of sitter will work well for all the pets that you have is key. Be honest about the responsibilities and what would set you and the sitters up for success in terms of how many people you need. Is a couple best for your sit? Is a family best? Is a solo sitter best, right? Additionally, we mentioned don't be lazy in the bio. Have information that lets us know what the pet's needs are, what those plants' needs are, what your house needs are. That is really, really key, because if it's not a lot in the bio and it's just too simple, we might pass it up. Honestly, seasoned sitters, they already know, they have the reviews, they have the experience. And so they're really just looking to see, okay, is this a location that looks good for me? Does the home look clean? What are the responsibilities? And if we feel we have to do a lot of work to get all these answers, we're just going to move on to something else. We're not desperate. Yeah. Now, with that being said, it's a really good idea to give non-seasoned sitters a chance, because they've got to experience one way or the other. But I probably wouldn't give that sit over to a long sit over to someone who doesn't have some experience. Maybe a short sit, right? Oh, a weekend, a couple days. But in terms of a long sit, I would think that knowing the person has experience with home care or pet care would be of benefit. Now, everyone has to get that long sit in somewhere, but it will happen when it needs to happen. I'm not saying don't go with inexperienced sitters, but set yourself up for success and not for disappointment, and make sure that the sitter you choose or the sitter that you're considering is going to match up for the length of your stay and your expectations for that stay and the requirements for that stay. With that being said, if you are completely open to having new sitters, you can put that in the description too, right? We travel a lot and welcome new sitters. We travel a lot and would love to connect with someone who lives in our area and are happy to work with newer sitters, right? And this way, someone in your area might be like, oh my gosh, they're going to consider me. Now I'm going to apply. Because there are a lot of people who join Trusted House Sitters to be a sitter, but they don't apply because they're nervous. They're so scared to suck the plunge. They don't want the rejection. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the idea of rejection is very problematic for a lot of people, and they just don't want to put themselves out there. So letting them know that they are welcome is really huge. And lastly, we talked about how, let's see here. We talked about how letting sitters know if there's a space for them to come early and stay or stay late is ideal. Letting sitters know what spaces they can occupy is also super helpful. So this is a lot, but I hope these tips from my first video and tips from this video are tools that you will put into practice and help get you more applicants. Feel empowered, get more applicants. You can do it because there are so many different types of sits out there and so many types of sitters that you really can take the initiative to set yourself up for success. And you don't have to be in this position where you're cranky because you feel like you paid this money, you're not getting applicants, or you have a bad experience with a sitter who does not treat your property in a way that you think it should be. So with that being said, my friends, if you want to know what are some things that you can do to prepare for your first sitter, I mean, you've got all these applicants, then go ahead and click on this next video.